Nothing
Nothing
at
at
all.
all.
Well, all the beef is in the almost all the beef is in the barn because
Most of the beef.
So, are we
Statistically.
recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
All right, go, Gogs.
Welcome to Movie the Podcast. That's right, Movie the Podcast. It is the second week of Dance Resolution, and we watched Ghostbusters 2, the dark horse of the Ghostbusters franchise, the Rocky Five of Ghostbusters movies.
Oh, no. The all lady one is the most hated. Come on, and the Rocky Five.
I'm not saying it. Oh no, I'm talking about thematically.
Also,
like, the down on the luck Ghostbusters.
This was Alec's pick, right?
This was Alec's pick.
Kudos to Alec for finding a fucking New Year's Eve movie. Like that was very impressive.
It's like this and Strange Days, right?
Yeah, that's right. Oh shit, damn, that's a good
that was
pick.
Almost my pick.
That's a good pick.
Strange Days might be my
job.
pick.
Good job, Alec, because I was like, New Year. I did think about that when the prompt was given. I was like, I can't think of a New Year's Eve movie like off the top of my head. This was
there's the one that's just called New Year's Eve. That's like a romantic comedy with 50 people.
Yeah, it's like a
Love
Actually, isn't it? Yeah, it's like one of those.
But I was looking up New Year's Eve movies, and there's a bunch. There's a lot of movies with New Year's Eve in it, but not a lot of movies that are about New Year's Eve.
I almost asked the room if I could pick Boogie Nights because one of the most pivotal scenes happens on New Year's Eve, but even that's such a stretch. I was like, nah.
Boogie in the title.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what?
Forrest,
actually, you know what? There is a lot of dancing in the movie too. Damn. Shit. Oh well.
I mean, Forrest Gump has the scene on New Year's Eve with the girls in Lieutenant Dan's apartment, and then what's her name?
Good point.
Jenny is about to nosedive off a 50th floor because she's coked out of her mind.
Jenny.
She tastes like cigarettes.
Yeah. That's a good movie. You know,
Forrest Gump.
I don't know if people realize this, but Forrest Gump's a pretty good movie.
Forrest Gump's in this weird pantheon of movies where it's I don't care where it is in the this is back when channel surfing existed, but I didn't care where it was in the movie. If it if I was channel surfing and I found it, I was like, well, I'll just watch the rest of this. Also, one of the few movies I saw with my mom. I've only saw a handful of movies in the theater with my mom, and for some reason, Forrest Gump was one of them. It was very strange. Have you guys seen the trailer for the new fucking Tom Hanks movie where it's Boomer the movie? He's just complaining about things. He's like, this girl, he's helping a girl learn how to drive and show him it's a car. And he's it's okay. It's a hybrid or something.
I'll help you out. It's called A Man Called Otto. And we're going to talk about it in a few minutes.
Oh, it's out. You watched it? Oh,
yeah.
Shit. I didn't even know it was out. Okay. We'll talk about it. Table then. I'm sorry.
Table.
All right. Well, that's a good segue, Alec. A masterful segue, if I do say so myself. What did y'all watch this week? And we'll start off with the man with the plan. Too sweet, too hot to hold, too sweet to be sour. The man behind the wheels of steel. I don't know, Alec.
A lot of adjectives you got applied, and none of them make a ton of sense.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
It's too cold to hold. Damn it. Sorry.
Too cold to hold. That's right.
Yeah. Shit.
I watched 4 things.
Hell yeah.
And
is
there music playing?
No.
Or am I just crazy?
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay. Well, if I just vanished, then I don't know. Traveling band of troubadours grabbed me out of my hot tub.
Oh, we're doing a hot tub stream?
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
I'm out here in the tub, tubbing it up. It's a beautiful night.
Let's get the
lots of stars in the sky. I watched 4 things, and it finished a TV show.
Hell yeah. Tubbing it up.
The first thing I watched is the Flashpoint Paradox.
Oh, the cartoon?
Yeah. They should have named it Flashpoint.
Yeah, I don't know why they called it Flashpoint Paradox, because the miniseries was just called Flashpoint.
Yeah. And animated movies, But this one just kind of meh. It was okay.
Yeah, they're kind of hit or miss for me. I feel like the ones that are really good are great, and the ones that are meh are very meh. You know?
Yeah, I was not super. It wasn't bad, but I wasn't super impressed with it. And honestly, part of it, I think I didn't like I didn't like a lot of the art, which is a weird thing to say about those movies because I feel like most of them are drawn like with the exact same artists all the time.
Yeah, they're trying.
Like,
I think they're trying to approximate that kind of like Jim Lee-ish style, and I don't think it really works in animation. They've done it a couple of times.
With this one, like Aquaman and Batman both ended up looking like Marv from Sin City.
Oh God,
which is really weird. They're both like overly muscular and like have these weird like foreheads that look like they like a caveman almost, and these weird like it's weird. For those of you who don't know, the Flashpoint, I never read the books, and it seems like a really cool story.
It's fine. I read it. It was fun.
Flash goes back in time to save his mom, and in doing that, unwittingly creates a whole new timeline where Bruce Wayne dies instead of his parents, and his parents become Batman and the Joker. Superman lands in Metropolis and is captured by the government and kept underground in a cage his whole life. Aquaman and Wonder Woman get married, and then Wonder Woman kills Mera, which sets off Aquaman, and they have like a huge war raging on. That's like basically already annihilated Europe. So it is just threatening to take over like the whole world.
A better universe, basically. With the
like the premise is cool, and I like a lot of the DC Elseworld stuff, but this one just didn't quite.
Did they introduce the Shazam that's like 5 kids? Because I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah,
it's like Shazam is like
stacked up on each other. Or
Shazam basically is like a Voltron now. It's an interesting idea. Like it's kind of fun. Like they all have individual powers.
But then, like in the when Wonder Woman finally fought Shazam, like she killed like one kid. And that was it, and they were all gone. Like I don't understand, and it might go into more detail in the comics that would make a little more sense. But like some of the shit just didn't make sense.
Also, so by the end of Flashpoint, that is what started the New 52 continuity. I don't know if they get into that in the cartoon, but that's what kicked off the New 52, which
I do
is crazy to think about.
Some of that stuff was awesome.
Yeah, but it's crazy to think that that's all gone now too. Like DC just constantly is like, "Hey, we're starting all over again." Then 5 years later, we're going back to we're going back to old continuity, and now it's like it's just this big soup of like I don't know what's what. Like I don't.
Was the New 52 alternate timeline, or was it? I thought it was like a reset.
It was. The New 52 was supposed to be DC's like mainline continuity, like that everything was reset, and then that didn't go very well, and they kept it going for like, I don't know, maybe 2 years, and then they reset it again with whatever that thing that they said Dr. Manhattan like created the DC. It's fucking stupid. DC can't help itself but like just do this like, hey, we're gonna start over again. Hey, we're gonna start all over. They've done it like, I don't know, a dozen times since I've been alive. It's ridiculous.
I mean, I remember. What was the first one? Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Yes.
Is that the first one from like the 80s?
Yeah, that was the first one from the 80s.
The fucking crazy one with the Anti-Monitor and the Monitor and
and then some
Flash like runs himself into a skeleton.
Yeah, that shit is pretty badass. Great artwork throughout it.
Yeah.
George Perez, bless up.
Well, you figure that was like 35 years ago, and they've done it like 10 times since then.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
every 5 years, it's like a full
It's
reset for the.
it's fucking ridiculous. And like Marvel's done that to a certain extent, but they never like they'll like change the status quo for a while, like see X-Men here in the last couple of years, but like they're never like even then they're like the old continuity is still valid. Like they always want to like say, "No, this is it. Like this is everything starts from here." And it's just like we know it's not. We know it's
But I mean, I guess I can't blame them because like comic sales are so fucking finicky and fickle.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
all it takes is like 2 bad months and DC's probably just about out of business.
Well, I
So
still
like
think
they gotta like reboot that shit back sometimes to be like, all right.
I still think like the craziest thing for me about like the comic book industry, and it's one of the biggest L's I'll ever take, is that I legitimately thought with like the rise of like comic book movies, and you know now that's not even a thing to talk about now. It's just ubiquitous. You know, we've had comic book movies for so long. I thought that was going to like increase comic book sales. It has not, like at all. Like no one. Like I find it so strange that there's literally like groups of big, large groups of fans that are like fans of DCU movies or Marvel movies, but they like don't give a shit about the comics. Like that to me is so weird.
Do you think like how popular like the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been not even beneficial but detrimental to comic books?
I think it's just kind of like it's just flat. Like I don't think it has. I think they're just two completely separate things, and I don't know. Like that seems so crazy to say, and I feel that's the way it is. I feel like so there is some crossover. Obviously, I mean, all three of us read comics and we all like the movies, but like I think that there's like I would almost say probably the majority just watch the movies and they don't read comic books. They like don't care about comic books at all. It's wild. But anyway, sorry, Alec. I didn't mean to go off on a comic book game.
But there's some other stuff on there that I saw that I guess looks newish, but like, I don't know. I watch the DC stuff on HBO Max because they have like all the DC animated stuff.
Yeah,
but there'll be shit like I've never seen before. But then I look and it came out like 10 years ago, and I'm like, well, where the fuck has this been? Because like every couple of weeks I'll go through and just scroll looking for like new Superman movies or like Justice League movies to see see some of the different stories. Like is it Injustice?
Yes.
Is that the one where Lois gets killed and Superman goes nuts?
Yeah, and they based that's where the video game came from.
Like that movie fucking rocked.
Yeah,
like that movie was awesome. But then you got some of them were just total fucking duds. And every time they do a reboot or a weird thing like this, like Hal Jordan and Green Lantern's like a total non-factor.
Yeah.
Like he's wasted in this. Like they use Nathan Fillion as his voice. And he's like a bomber pilot in this movie for like 5 seconds. And then he gets annihilated by Atlantis. It's like, oh, so that's a fucking waste. Yeah, but they don't even have like Green Lantern. It's just Hal Jordan, fighter pilot, bomber pilot, whatever.
Nobody wants that. And the reason you probably missed out on a lot of those, you got to remember, like when they started coming out, they were just like straight to DVD. Like they wouldn't, you know what I mean? They wouldn't be broadcast anywhere. So like, if you didn't happen to be at Best Buy that week, like how would you keep up with those things? You know.
I watched A Man Called Otto.
How was that?
I really enjoyed it.
The trailer looked wild to me. It looked like old men. It sounded like every old man at my work complaining about technology and everything else. I was like, I don't know about this one.
I mean, it kind of is. And he's a grumpy old curmudgeon. He lives by himself in a neighborhood he's lived in for 50 years. And like things are changing in the neighborhood and it's bothering him and he's getting angry and upset about it. But there's a lot more to the story, and it's a lot deeper than that, and it's got a lot of heart to it. Okay. And just like Tom Hanks can like bring gravitas to just about anything.
That is
like
true.
He's so good. Like he could read a phone book and it would be entertaining.
What's the with the driving? I mean, is there any like other big thing besides the fact that he just doesn't like the way things are going, or is there like a big event that happens?
He's a grumpy old man. New people moving across the street, and like it's a Hispanic couple and their kids, and the husband is inept as far as like household stuff, like fixing things, building things, and Otto just can't conceive how a man cannot know these things.
Otto would hate me.
But it's like a lot of setups like that. Like the wife in that scenario never learned how to drive because they've always lived like in a city where she never had to. And he's like, how can you not know how to drive? Like it's part of like growing up and living, like learning how to drive. But he slowly warms up to the family and to other people in the neighborhood that have been around, and you find out eventually that he used to be happy and more up.
When he drove a school bus for Springfield Elementary?
Yeah. Or when he was doing EPA ads advertising the hole in the ground where Springfield used to be.
That's on my head, Mr. Hanks.
Well, the EPA's having a tough time getting some clout of their own, so they paid for some of mine. I'm Tom Hanks.
I forgot about that.
But I really enjoyed it, and it gets a little deeper and deeper into his past, and you find out things about why he is the way he is now, and why he's standoffish with his neighbors and stuff like that. But I enjoyed it.
It's like a wholesome El Camino.
No, Gran Torino.
Gran Torino, not El Camino. I'm sorry, I picked the wrong car.
Anything would be more
Breaking Bad movie.
Yeah, anything would be more wholesome than Gran Torino, and I'm sure better acted. God, the acting in that fucking movie.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Not the best movie I saw last year, but
Did you see it? Where'd you see it?
I was
perfectly acceptable. It's all on. We went to the movies. We went to AMC.
I was surprised that got a theatrical release. Like that, his Battleship movie didn't get a theatrical release, but the one where he just plays a grumpy old man gets a theatrical release. Doesn't make.
Oh, that's because I don't think Apple TV is theatrically releasing anything.
Oh, this wasn't Apple TV produced? I thought it was.
I don't think so. I think it was just a movie. No, because it definitely had the Playtone label at the beginning. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Although it's just like a sappy movie, so I got all the sappy ads for other sappy movies beforehand, and I'm just like snoozing through most of them. Like, all right, let's get to the feature presentation.
This summer, About Schmidt 2.
And there were no stingers for the Otto universe. The Otto shared cinematic universe.
Anything else?
Yeah, we watched a movie called MFA, Masters of Fine Arts.
No, that is not what I thought it was. Is that like a revenge movie?
Yes, it's like a revenge on a girl who was raped.
Yes, I saw the poster for that. I've been meaning to watch that for a while. I heard it was good. How was it?
It is good. I thought it was really.
Uh-oh. Say that again. We lost you for a second there, buddy. Oh. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good now.
Oh, it is.
Got a little hot tub interference.
It is rough. Oh. Like, graphic.
Oh, you sold me already.
But, I thought it was really good. Stacy said it had some notes similar to Promising Young Woman, but I think she said it was more violent than that.
Oh, good.
I never saw Promising. I still need to watch that. I never saw it.
I did, but I did not care for it. But MFA came out before Promising Young Woman.
Yeah, MFA came out like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But I thought it was good. I didn't enjoy it.
Sure.
Because it's very fucking like hard subject matter.
Yeah,
it's a very good movie. And like at the beginning, like for the first, I don't know, like quarter to third of this movie, I thought the lead was just a terrible actress because of the way she's very like quiet and reserved. Everything she said, she was mumbling. I was like, I cannot deal with this. Like, this is awful.
It's just her reflecting her trauma or whatever.
Even before that, like anything happened, she's just like very introverted and quiet. But then after she starts getting into the revenge and like she starts showing his personality, I was like, oh, this girl can actually act.
So,
but I haven't seen her in like anything else.
Speaking of Gran Torino, that actress is Clint Eastwood's daughter.
Is
Oh.
she? Because I looked that up and I saw the last name, but I couldn't find anything like actually connecting them.
Yeah. And she also in the movie, I she has pink hair, and we all know how I feel about that. So, yeah.
And the guy who plays the cop is Clifton Collins Jr., Clifton Collins' son, who also is getting cast as like playing every race.
Yeah,
So good for him, following his dad's footsteps.
Love Clifton Collins.
The last thing we watched, we literally just finished, and it's the
Uh-oh. We're losing
Beavis
you
and
again.
Butthead.
Oh, there you go. Beavis and Butthead. Gotcha. Sorry.
The new Beavis and Butthead movie.
I heard that was very good.
It is so fucking good. It's
I need to watch
it is insane how fucking good this movie is.
I'm pretty sure Sean talked about it. I think Sean watched it.
I thought you had watched it. You hadn't watched it?
Sean
TJ?
loved it.
No, I've been meaning to. I saw a ton of clips for it when it came out, and it looked really funny, so I've been meaning to get around to watching it.
It is very funny. Like, I was laughing so fucking hard through most of it. I think Sean talked about it. There's a scene where they stumble into like a women's studies class at a college.
Oh yeah.
And like they're talking about like the teacher's trying to express to them about white privilege, and the class all explains to them like, do you understand? And they're like, yeah. Oh my God, yeah, we totally understand about white privilege. And she's like, is this going to change the way you go about your daily life in the world? And they're both like, yeah, absolutely. And they just start like kicking in the doors and like taking everything they want from people. Like, I'm sorry, I have white privilege. Like, that's so funny. It's so fucking funny. And like, they're so goddamn funny.
I mean, Mike Judge doesn't miss. I mean, he's pretty damn good.
Yeah. He is, but I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a blast. That might have crept into my, depending on how many movies we do tops of, that might have crept into my top movies list.
I gotta watch it
towards the end of the year.
By the end of our year list, I'm gonna have more movies that I'm like, I need to watch than I actually watched. I don't know what it is.
And then the other thing, I finished that Kaleidoscope show, and it's pretty good. I think you'll.
Another thing I think you
guys will enjoy it.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. Like, I really want to get around to watching it. I love the premise is really cool. Like that whole thing. I'm already sold. You know me. I love a good gimmick. And that's a good ass gimmick.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. Like I liked it. The last episode is probably the weakest, but it's still excellent.
But couldn't that be the first episode that I watch?
No, the last one stays the same no matter what.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I would say it's the weakest of the 8, but it's still like very, very good. Like, it's all very, very good, and everybody's very, very good in it.
Definitely check that one out. I put it on my list, my Netflix list. My Kiwi.
Kiwi.
That's all I watched. Gogs.
I watched two things. I watched, so I bought that 2-pack.
2-pack Shakur?
Yeah, I got the 2-pack Shakur DVD of, Electric Boogaloo, the Canon documentary, but it also came with this other documentary.
Yeah, that weird, like, we don't know what region it's from Blu-ray. That's the picture you sent, right?
Yeah, so it's two documentaries on one disc. There's no chapters. Like, you just hit play.
Oh, weird.
Like, you pick, it's weird, but it works. So
yeah, as long as it works.
So I watched the other documentary, which is called Machete Maidens Unleashed, which is effectively a documentary about New World Pictures and all the exploitation movies they made in the Philippines, like in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and like how wild it was over there, like against the backdrop of like their like sort of totalitarian government with like the guy Marcos in charge, and like how like the stunt people were just really like they were just literally doing it for real, and just people would get hurt, and one dude, like, people were just dying sometimes.
Jesus Christ.
And it was all about just like, it was Roger Corman sitting there talking about just like, if it had explosions and tits in it, it was going to make money. and just kind of like talking through all of those films, like the Big Bird Cage, all the women in prison movies, all of like the Blood Feast movie, like all the exploitation movies from like that era. Like a majority of them were filmed in the Philippines, and like all the crazy shit that people endured.
I had no idea.
Like the biggest one I think that came out of the Philippines was was Apocalypse Now. That was filmed in the Philippines.
Really? I didn't know that.
And it was they were talking about, like, Roger Corman was talking about how like Francis Ford Coppola was like not used to it, but by then all the other guys were, and like all the crazy shit you had to do. But they were doing stuff like the Philippine government was like, yeah, you can borrow our army and our attack helicopters, and it was like it would be shit like let's say you had an army movie, like a military movie, and you wanted to, like, the helicopters would be late for filming because they were strafing rebels in the north, and then they would show up on set.
Holy shit.
So that movie, it was a while. It's a cool, I love filmmaking documentaries, so I thought that was it was really fucking cool.
I'd have to check that out.
Yeah, and like and the only reason I got it is because Electric Boogaloo is available on Amazon Prime right now, but like to get a Blu-ray of just the Electric Boogaloo documentary, it's like a lost movie. It's like $150, $300.
It's impossible. But
that two-pack Blu-ray was $30.
Yeah, can't beat that.
No, and I was just like, I'll roll the dice on this weird, like, I had enough Amazon Prime points from Christmas that I'm buying shit for free now. So I'm like, fuck it, if it doesn't work, I don't give a fuck. But it works great. So, plus.
Oh yeah.
And then the other thing I watched the movie that's streaming on Peacock now, Vengeance, the BJ Novak film.
Alec watched that movie, I believe.
Did you watch that, Alec?
He's on mute, so he might be taking a shit or something.
I hope not in the hot tub. That'd be terrible.
No, I did watch it.
It's truly a hot tub when you take a shit.
I really liked it. It got a little on the nose and maybe a little too on the nose towards the end, but like for the bulk of the film, I kind of I liked it. And BJ Novak wrote and directed it. I think he's a pretty talented writer. I thought it was an interesting movie about, the false confidence or sense of superiority of like city dwelling East Coasters versus what everyone thinks about people that live in like sort of, the sticks, and how that's not necessarily true. And furthermore, like how, the unintended consequences of your lifestyle impacting other people, and then what road that can lead down. And it's done, it's all about this guy doing this podcast about this girl who he hooked up with who got killed in Texas, and then trying to he's just sort of like finds this kind of wacky cast of characters down there of her family, and they think it's a murder and this, that, and the other. He's like, well, this will be good content. And then he kind of gets embroiled in it and grows up, and, I don't know. Alec, I forget if you liked it or not. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I thought it was, I liked it a lot too. I thought the ending was a bit messy. Like the very, very ending, like the last 5 minutes. But up till that, I thought it was excellent.
That's another
the ending, it wasn't bad enough that it ruined the movie for me. I was yeah. They could have cleaned that up a little bit, but I still enjoyed it overall.
Yeah, I was a big fan of it. So it's gonna be high on 2022.
How good is Ashton Kutcher in that?
I was literally
movie?
Just about to say that. Like, you get this subdued, nuanced, really good Ashton Kutcher. When the second he walked on the scene, I was like, fuck. And then he starts, and I'm like, oh,
because I can't remember him ever being good aside from being Kelso. And
I remember liking The Butterfly Effect. That's a movie I'd like to revisit. I remember liking it. I remember, maybe that'll be my birthday pick next year. It'll be like,
oh man,
did I really like
that?
This?
Will be a fun movie to revisit, because I feel like it is terrible. I've watched it. I watched it a few years ago. It's really bad.
Maybe it's a young man's sci-fi movie that feels smart.
It's also it's one of those movies that somebody told me I was on a date and they told me it was their favorite movie, and I was like, well, this is not gonna go well.
It's not my favorite movie, and I told you that in confidence. So But
What is your favorite movie, Gogs?
Oh, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, I should have
Yeah.
guessed. Yeah.
But he's really good, and Boyd Holbrook.
Yes, that guy is great.
That guy's. I'll be frank. I didn't realize he was the lead in The Predator.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I know, but I probably blanked out.
And he's the bad guy in Logan, and he's great.
Well, I knew he's the bad guy in Logan. I just didn't. For some reason,
he looks a little different in The Predator because I don't think he has any facial hair. He usually has like a beard.
Yeah,
he's really good. Anytime you have Charlie Hunnam in a movie, you should just swap him out with that guy because they kind of look similar.
I think in my head, the lead in The Predator was Charlie Hunnam, or the other one. Who's the other charisma? The guy from Altered Carbon.
Joel Cinnamon.
Joel Cinnamon.
Really good in Altered Carbon, though. That's good.
Really good in Altered Carbon, and really good in the other Suicide Squad movie.
He was very good in the Suicide Squad. He was excellent in that.
But
he was very bad in that fucking Russian Tom Hardy movie we watched.
Oh yeah. But I need to. So like Vengeance helps pads out my 2022. I still want to watch Weird, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else do you guys have anything else that could potentially crack a top 5 for me that you think I haven't seen yet?
I'm about to talk about something that I think you'd really like.
All right, well, good then, TJ.
Yeah. So I watched 2 things, and I want to have TJ's anime corner for a second too.
Ooh.
What do you want first? The movies?
Let's do the movies.
Okay. Anime. Hey, Alec. Buddy. Alec, I actually want to start with an anime that I think you might actually enjoy. And I've been moving through like the big popular animes that I've been hearing a lot about. So I started watching My Hero Academia. This series is the best way I can describe it is they took the premise of Kingdom Come, the DC story where basically everybody's a metahuman now, and they like animate it. And basically this kid he's like the only kid in town that doesn't have a superpower, but he wants to be a hero. And then like he joins this like superhero school, and it's really good. Like I really like it. They like go out of their way to make it look like Western comics. Like they have like big like word bubbles and stuff. Like it's interesting to see like a Japanese take on Western comics, because this is very specifically like about superheroes, and I don't know, it's very enjoyable. Like I only watched the first 3 episodes, but it's very good. And Alec, I will give you my Crunchyroll stuff if you ever want to use it. Also, we were talking about how Crunchyroll sounded racist, and I couldn't put my finger on why. And as I was logging into the other day, I was like, it is racist because like it's like a food. It's like if you had like a blaxploitation channel and just called it like fried chicken. It's very, you know what I mean? It's just not right. Like, come up with a better name. Anyway, the other thing
both are delicious though. I want to draw a line in the sand.
1,000,000%. Okay. But no, it seems racist to like call it by a food. I don't know. It seems weird.
Well, to define a culture by its food is probably.
Yeah, it's like call it anything else. Anyway,
like it's all Fellini pictures and it's called Meatball.
Yeah. Italian films. Yeah, okay. I also watched a series called Baki the Rock. This series is fucking like fantastic. It's about this guitar player who's very, very shy and introverted. And she's like, her whole goal in life is to be in a band, but she's too scared to play on stage. And she doesn't have any friends. And then she just by happenstance runs into a drummer, and then they start a band, and it's like super cute, and I love it, and the music's really good, and it's great. I've watched like 4 episodes of it. It's adorable, and I love it. It's fantastic, and I can't wait till like I haven't gotten to the end, and I assume that they're going to have like a big concert, and it's really good.
Nothing silly or mystical, just playing music.
No, it's just like it's kind of similar to I talked a while ago about that anime I really liked called R Sound, which was like basically just a movie about like the love of music, and this is kind of like that, except it's more silly and comedic, and like it's definitely like, you know, it falls into a lot of like the anime tropes of like, you know, silly like schoolgirls and stuff. But what I do like about it is like it's very innocent. Like it doesn't, there's none of that weird shit that creeps into a lot of anime where it's like fan servicey and they sexualize these high school girls like at all. Like it's very safe, and I kind of love that about it because anytime it's like, oh, I'm 16, it's like, oh god, where is it? Where is it coming? Or it's gonna come here soon. Like, but now it's a very good show, and I really enjoy it. And Baki, the main character, plays the same guitar as I have, a Les Paul Custom Black Beauty, which is super cool. And they do a very good job rendering it. Like all the instruments, like whoever designed like this, they very meticulously like they render all of the gear right, which is very important to me. But it's a cool show.
So it's made by someone who's passionate about.
Yeah, and like
stuff.
I don't know, the first episode's funny. Like so like Baki, her name isn't Baki. I can't remember her Baki is a nickname. But she's like a very good guitar player, and has like a level of renown because she posts like YouTube videos under like a pseudonym, but she doesn't show her face. So like all these people know her, but she's like terrified of like meeting people, and I don't know, it's kind of cute. And like as somebody that does have like somewhat social anxiety, like it's something you can relate to. It's really good though. I highly recommend it. It's a very fun show, and it's again like very easily digestible. So yeah, those are my two little anime things: My Hero Academia and Baki the Rock. I recommend both of them quite a bit. The movies that I watched, we're gonna start with the bad first, and it pains me to say this because I think we are a net positive on Scott Cooper on the show. We really
bad Scott Cooper movie?
We have two bad Scott Cooper movies in a row because I didn't care for Antlers either.
Oh boy.
So his last movie was Antlers, and I felt like that was a movie that like could have been good and just wasn't. It just didn't have anything, no meat on the bones. Like it was just kind of there. And he's got a new movie. It's on Netflix. It stars Christian Bale, and it's called The Pale Blue Eye, and it is
the Edgar Allan Poe movie.
Yeah, it's so the premise is ludicrous. So here's the problem right off the bat with this. I generally don't like historical fiction movies when like take like it's like you take a historical figure and he's like in the story. I always think it's kind of cheesy, and especially like as someone that's a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan. Like, I know he was, like, a big loser, and to have him, like, in this movie as, like, this guy who's, like, a detective is, like, I don't know, it's kind of dumb. Anyway, so what happens is, Christian Bale is, like, a grizzled old detective that has some kind of history with West Point, and they call him into West Point to try to solve these, like, grisly murders where these cadets are hung, or hanged. I never know what the right way to say that. Hanged. Harangued. Isn't that the guy from Tekken? Anybody? Thai boxer. Anyway,
nice.
Gox knows what I'm talking about.
I get it.
Anyway, so he's brought in to solve this murder, and Christian Bale also has like a dark past, and you don't really know. Like his wife died, and his daughter ran off, and then in the course of him trying to solve this mystery, he runs into a young cadet at West Point, and yes, Edgar Allan Poe did go to West Point. That is a true thing. He runs into this young cadet, and it's Edgar Allan Poe, and they like team up to try to solve this murder. And it's just like, it's very like bog standard and like kind of slow. And does anybody care if I spoil this movie? Because
not with this review. So
I have to get into this because this bothers. So like the movie is whatever. And then they stumble, like Christian Bale stumbles across this like satanic cult that's like, they're convinced that like sacrificing people is like prolonging their daughter's life and all this crap. And it's like, okay, fine. And then the satanic cult people get killed in a ritual. And then it's like, okay, they solved the murder. But then the movie's still got 20 minutes. And this is the part of the movie that like, the movie wasn't good up to that point, but then this part just makes it goes from like, it goes from like 5 territory to like 2 territory, where you find out, this is like the big twist ending, that Christian Bale, he found out that his daughter, who you've been told ran away, didn't run away. She killed herself, because she was raped by 3 members of the academy. And those are the 3 kids that got murdered, and big surprise, Christian Bale is the one that murdered all these kids, and that's fine and all. My problem is that he just so happened to come across the satanic cult who stumbled upon these dead bodies to use them in sacrifices so he could pin the deaths on the satanic cult. But he had no forethought that
there was no previous association.
He just happened to run into a satanic cult. It's like, wait, what? Like, how did, like, that's not like just, this is convenient. Like, it's so fucking, it's so stupid that they should have just wrote it out and been like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Was there a moment where the satanic cult people like repent, like, okay, we're lying, we never did this?
No. And there's plenty of scenes in the movie where, like, he is blatantly accusing them of murdering people, and there's a scene where they look like they're about to murder somebody else, and they never once deny that they murdered anybody, which, you know, would be something somebody that didn't murder people would probably say.
I mean, it might be, yeah.
It's so fucking stupid, man.
That's a shame.
And the rest of the movie's not good either. Like, Christian Bale is good, of course, because he's Christian Bale and he can't help but be a good actor. I will say the guy they got to play Edgar Allan Poe is great, and he kind of looks like Edgar Allan Poe. Like, he does a good job as the character. Like, I kind of wanted just a straight fucking Edgar Allan Poe biopic with this guy, because he's kind of charming. But this movie is not it, Chief. It is bad. And I was really, really let down. I was like, because I was kind of feeling it at the beginning, because it's kind of gothic and like kind of grimy and like, I don't know. I was kind of feeling it. And then just the plot just goes fucking nowhere. And then it ends and you're like, this seems kind of abrupt. And then it's like, oh, it's not over. It has this dumbass twist at the end. And I don't know. Not good. Love you. I still love you, Scott Cooper. I mean, Crazy Heart, Out of the Furnace, like good movies, but Hostels, or the title I always say wrong, the Native American Christian Bale movie.
That's right.
I really like that movie a lot. But this movie and Antlers, both of these were just not good. And lastly, I watched the movie right before we started recording. I watched The Menu, starring.
I really want to see that.
It's excellent. I loved it. It might crack the top 10. I'm not sure, but I fucking loved it. I will not spoil anything about this movie, cause it's great. It's very mysterious from all the trailers and clips on TikTok that I've seen. But, like, I still don't quite know what it's about, but I feel like I've seen half the movie. It's really good. And it's one of those things where, you know, I talk about this every week, but I love movies that can juggle tone. And this movie is scary. It's tense. It's also very funny.
Well, I was going to ask, because the trailers look like they've got some stuff. It clearly looks like it's a horror, but it looks like some of the stuff's played for laughs. And I was curious if they pull it off.
It absolutely is. It's a very hard-edged, like, satire. Like, it's great. And I was a little worried when the movie first started, because, like, the first, 5 minutes of dialogue, I'm like, uh-oh. But, like, it's very intentional, and I loved it. And it's basically a class war metaphor satire, which, you know, I love. I hate rich people, and it's definitely a workers versus the creators versus the users, as I think is how they say it. Ralph Fiennes is. I mean, he might be like one of our best actors, right? Like, he's so good in this movie. And he is like mustache twirling in this movie, and he's so good. Nicholas Holt's great. Anya Taylor-Joy is really good. Another great performance, 2 in a row for John Leguizamo. He's in this movie, and he does a great job. He's playing a kind of washed up actor, and he's really, really good. I adored this movie though. I thought this was great. This felt like to me, this was kind of like it felt a lot like kind of like a battle royal type movie where it's like, it's funny, but it's also like crazy violent, and you still don't like it. There's a lot of twists and turns, and you don't know where it's going to go. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And again, like genuinely like funny moments. Like I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I really was happy with it. And like I said, I started off being a little unsure, but I really, really liked it a lot. So yeah, that's all I watched, but I highly recommend The Menu. And if you don't have my Plex, it's on HBO Max. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna make that part of my homework because I want to
really
watch
good.
that, and I wanted to watch. I want to watch that. I want to watch Weird, and I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear The Menu is good because
I fucking loved it.
It's one of those movies that kind of looks like.
Well, I didn't know what
to make of it from the trailer. If I'm being
I
frank.
remember seeing the trailer a long time ago, and I was like, I don't know, it looks kind of up its own ass. But that's kind of the point. It's funny too because I've seen a lot of TikToks saying that the movie is like. It's trying to be like too intellectual, but like it's not. It's kind of the whole point. Like it's very like on the nose. It's almost like grindhousey to an extent. Like you remember like the Belko Experiment, another movie I really
love
like.
that movie.
Like, but you know how that movie wasn't like at all subtle about what it was going for.
No,
that's what this is. This is like very violent. It's very on the nose, but it's very entertaining, and I really really enjoyed it. I think both of you guys would like it. Yeah, very, very good. Also, Anya Taylor-Joy is American, like in real life, and that blows my fucking mind.
Yeah.
I always thought she was foreign. I thought she was like British or something, but she was born in Florida. But anyway, all right. So we watched. That's everybody. And Sean watched himself suck his dad's dick in the mirror, and then watched the Packers lose. But
rough day for Sean.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't like the Packers anymore anyway, because he doesn't like Aaron Rodgers anymore. And I respect him for that.
Oh, well, then a great day for Sean.
Yeah, that was a hell of a game. I every fucking Sunday night, I'm like, I'm not going to watch this whole game. And then I end up watching the whole fucking game. Good game. Anyway, so we watched Ghostbusters 2, Gogs. And, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting conversation. I got to be honest. I don't know.
I'll put it on Front Street. I'll put it on Front Street. I enjoyed this movie. In spite of itself, I enjoyed this movie.
I think that if you really love Ghostbusters 1, then you're going to like this movie. But if you think Ghostbusters 1 is a pretty decent movie, but you're not like over the moon about it, like I'm not very, like I don't know. We'll get into it, but
I personally love Ghostbusters 1, so yes.
I mean, it's good, but I don't know.
It's a much better movie than this, but I still. Well, anyway, so
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about Vigo.
Yeah, Vigo.
So flash forward 5 years later, after the events of the titular Ghostbusters, and the boys in beige have worked themselves out of a job by.
Why wasn't that the tagline of the movie? The boys in beige.
They sealed the Shandor portal to the other side. They sent Gozer the Gozerian back to whatever plane of existence they were from. And now they got nothing to do because now ghosts don't exist no more. So the movie opens with sort of a sweeping, it's actually very Ninja Turtles-esque because it's just sort of like introducing New York as a character, and all of the New York stuff that's happening around Dana Barrett as she's walking a baby carriage down the road, and there's people arguing and people talking to each other.
Of all the things, I did not expect this movie to have a fucking Battleship Potemkin fucking homage in the very beginning. And if you, I don't know if you pick up on that reference. It's a very old silent movie, and the baby carriage thing happens in that movie too. And
they also lampoon it in one of the not Lethal Weapon. What's the
Loaded Gun.
The Nielsen movies.
It also happens in The Untouchables.
That's what the Loaded Gun is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Spoofing is The Untouchables.
So it's a spoof of a reference of it's very
it's a spoof of a goof.
It was a spoof and a goof.
It's a real onion
damn goof.
Shout out to 10. That movie rules.
God, that movie rocks. That part in particular.
So
it's a goddamn goof.
Well, if it was consent, it wouldn't be right. So now so Dana's talking to her super about getting the baby's room heat fixed. Before we get any further in this movie, everyone's apartment in this movie is way above their station.
Oh my God, yeah,
way above their station.
Sigourney Weaver's apartment is like the most immaculate apartment
palatial,
I've ever seen.
And then basically an out of work Ghostbuster psychic hack has like this killer brownstone loft, top floor, downtown Manhattan.
I mean, he got his own TV show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, at
Like,
least he's on TV. I mean, yeah.
And that apartment he has with
rules.
like the windows inside the apartment.
I love that look. They did that in Wayne's World.
Tremendous.
Yeah. So Dana Barrett's hanging out. Everyone's arguing. Some goop oozes out of the ground. The baby carriage rolls through the goop. Then the baby carriage takes off on its own, and it's wheeling and dealing down through First Avenue, wherever she lives. It's careening through traffic. Here's what's interesting about this movie. I'll say this. 5 years ago, it's like there's been a group psychotic event where everyone forgot that ghosts were real 5 years ago.
It's fucking one more day.
That's one of my like favorite things about this movie. That everybody's like, you guys are full of shit. You're fucking bullshit. You're fucking liars, you assholes. Like, this entire city exploded with ghosts 5 years ago.
But it's a kind of a perfect movie in that regard for the current environment we're in right now, where everyone just denies how facts actually happened. I mean, so in a weird way, it was sort of prescient.
Okay, but here's my problem with that. It would be if they it wasn't like a commentary on.
No.
Yeah.
They backed into that. All I'm saying is that everyone seemed like Dana's not like, oh shit, go. She doesn't remember that like her fridge tried to eat her. Like all of a sudden this cart wheels away and she's like, oh, I don't know what to do about this.
Also, Sigourney Weaver, I've turned around on her. She looks great in this movie. Yeah.
She's top 5 all time for me.
Yeah, I've completely turned around on her.
All time. Her, Jamie Lee Curtis, maybe the top 2. So now Oscar goes wheeling away, but she gets him and everything's okay. And she's like, all right, well now we flash the rest of the Ghostbusters. Now you've got Ray and Winston are on their way to what you presume is a ghostbusting call.
I love this setup. They pull in, like, flying, a siren screaming. They basically kick the door in.
Yeah, they're burning oil. It's just
this is one of the best bits, and they're in full gear and everything.
They go through the front door.
And she's like, they're through here. There's like 30 of them.
How tall are they?
They're like 4 feet tall. Like, oh my god, there's a bunch of fucking kids.
Man, they just love He-Man and hate the Ghostbusters. So
also the fucking chants of He-Man really took me back. Like, who do you want to see? He-Man. It's like,
so the kid that says his dad says they're full of shit is actually Jason Reitman.
Oh shit,
that's funny.
Who made the new Ghostbusters one?
Yeah, and he's made a bunch of movies, and I believe he's a writer too, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So they go there, they're doing birthday parties. There's no ghosts to bust anymore, right? And then you get Dr. Peter Venkman. He is doing Land of the Psychic, where he's got the one like captain from Hot Shots Part 2 and the dad from Transformers.
Yeah.
This is back to back now that a Ghostbusters movie has had a legit psychic involved that they just shit on.
The beginning of this movie, the 2 comedy bits are very strong. Like his whole bit with fucking John Witnicki or whatever his name is from Transformers.
Yeah,
Witnicki. It's so fun because he's like, well, I think the world's going to end at the end of the year or whatever, and he's like, you're not really thinking about
kind of close, aren't you? You're not going to get paperbacks for another year.
That's pretty funny. I mean, Bill Murray is great. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
He's putting all his cards on. Bill Murray is great at being Bill Murray, and I don't mean that as a slight. I just mean he's really good at it.
Well, he's kind of great at being that like cynical dickhead character. Like the Venkman character is perfect for him.
But there's charm to it that somehow holds up.
Well, it's because it's funny. Yeah.
And so then he's doing that, and he's getting dragged for his show, which later gets compared to Bassmasters. And then Egon is.
I love Bassmasters.
Yeah, I've seen Bassmasters.
It's a fishing show. Yeah, I've seen Bassmasters.
So then Egon seems like he's got a straight gig where he's like putting people through emotional turmoil to see if it affects the environment around them. He has like a true researching position. So Dana visits him and says, "Hey, this wacky shit happened. Can you see what's up?" So they check out her apartment, and they check out the baby, and they go to Ray's occult books. Dana, who just can't escape the fine arts, is no longer a cellist with the New York Symphony Orchestra. She is restoring paintings at the New York Museum of Art, whatever the
Met.
The Met.
What the Metropolitan Museum of Art, maybe?
Yeah, whatever the big one is.
Yeah.
And there's this eccentric guy, Janos, who is in charge of all the art, and he's just kind of fun telling people, you're doing that wrong. I just want you to know that. I love him.
He looks like fucking, that guy's been in 1,000 movies, but he looks like Thomas Dolby for the Blinded Me with Science guy. They look exactly the same.
Yeah, so he's busy getting seduced by this giant portrait of Vigo the Carpathian, which is a portrait of one of the terrorists from Die Hard. Meanwhile, the Ghostbusters, you find out that Vinkman and Dana broke up, and she married, and then she had a kid, but then that guy went off to Europe to go become an accordion player or some shit, and so all of that kind of gets reestablished through dialogue, and then they're checking out where all the shit went down in the streets, and they're like, oh, we're getting a lot of energy here using all their PKE meters and whatnot, and then they start jackhammering the street to pieces. And I think this is a fun scene where they're giving the cops some shit, and they're just laying on their New York accents real thick. And they find old, I think they said like
the pneumatic subway line.
Pneumatics, yeah. Like, and I meant to Google that. I don't understand how that would work from a pressure standpoint, but there's a pneumatic, the series of tubes, like it's kind of like the Jetsons. And down there is like a river of pink slime, and they're like, oh shit, slime. We love slime. So they go and scoop some of the slime up, and then they start investigating the slime. They start investigating Vigo the Carpathian. They find out he's basically like Vlad the Impaler, but also Rasputin.
Yeah. And also kind of the Antichrist or something like.
Yeah. And so then the Ghostbusters, because they tore up the street, they tore up the street and blacked out all of Manhattan. They get run in front of a judge who reads them the riot act, who doesn't believe in ghosts. Once again, part of this group psychotic event that everyone broke down and forgot that shit really happened. And they're doing this in front of the goop, and that upsets the goop. So then the goop brings back the Scolari brothers, who this guy, he got a twofer. He got a double execution out of the deal back in the day and sent 2 guys to death. And now their ghosts are here, and they take a DA by her ankle and just drag her around the room. But thankfully the Ghostbusters are there, and part of the evidence is their proton packs. Also, Louis Tully, who I thought was an accountant, is also now somehow a lawyer.
Well, he's a lawyer, but it's plausible because he says it's tax law and probate.
Yeah.
He's like, guys, I'm mostly into tax law. I really don't know what I'm doing here.
Rick Moranis is really, really good in this movie. He's like, there's funny parts of this movie, but all the parts of Rick Moranis are genuinely hilarious.
I love when he got Venkman on the stand, and Venkman's like feeding him the questions.
Yeah,
but it's so obvious, and he keeps messing him up. And he's like, and Rick Moranis is like, should the defense rest now? And Venkman's like, yeah, I thought we did enough work for the AD already.
Louis Tully's opening argument is, these guys didn't do anything wrong, and they turned me into a dog and helped me. Thank you. Or were they helped me when I was turned into a dog. Thank you. Like, I don't know. It's kind of brilliant. So, because of the ghosts now back because of the slime, the Ghostbusters are back, baby. They polish up the Ecto-1. They're out there in the mix. They've got ceramic mugs.
They got Bobby Brown on the soundtrack.
They got Bobby Brown working the door at the mayor's mansion for some reason.
This Ghostbusters 2 song is awful.
Terrible.
It's so bad.
Fucking Bobby Brown thought he was going to get that fucking Ray Parker Jr. smash hit, and it just did not work.
But Huey Lewis in the News did sue him, though.
Not Bobby Brown.
No, I was just making a joke. I just thought it'd be fun. Because
I see what you're saying.
So it infringed on Huey Lewis's song, "You Need to Take Control." So the mayor. Oh, also they keep trying to get in front of the mayor, and the mayor's dogging them. They're like, "Listen, dude, river of slime, shit's going down." Venkman and Dana start basically her bathtub tries to eat the baby. Janos has been told by the painting to get me a baby so that on New Year's Eve I can come back to life and rule the world. She moves in with Peter. They start getting back at it.
That Janos scene where he goes to her apartment during the blackout, and then he's walking down the hall with his eyes like lit up. That shit was like legit terrifying. I was like, oh my God. I don't like that at all.
Kind of
it reminded me like a Mothman or something like that.
Yeah.
So Janos is trying to get the baby. The fellas are trying to figure out what's up with Vigo. Vigo starts a small fire in their dark room. Thankfully, Winston. I don't know what Winston's doing when he's not on screen, because I guess he's just like in a stasis chamber somewhere, because he's not working at Ray's Occult Books. He's not part of World of the Psychic. I guess he's just manning the station at because he's not helping Egon.
Well, he was just part of the entertainment division.
Yeah, part of their multi-level marketing corporation. So they do a bunch of tests on the slime. They figure out it's mood slime. Egon slept with it. Compliments make the slime happy.
That is a great scene.
They all just stare at him.
It's like, you sleep with it? Oh, come on.
Winston's like, it's always the quiet ones. Janine's still around, and Janine Melnitz got quite the upgrade. She went to the Dick Tracy universe between the last 5 years and came back all the better. So now we're reaching towards...
She wants her some Rick Moranis.
She wants that
penis.
Rick Moranis hog bad.
Like, real bad.
Some of that Dick Moranis. Dick Moranis.
Dick Moranis.
So her and Lewis are going to babysit Oscar while Dana and Venkman go out on a date to try and rekindle their romance. Meanwhile, the other fellas are down in the tubes and they get hit. Winston gets hit by a ghost train, and then they all get sucked into the river of slime. They ruin a perfectly good dinner, and then they get sent to a psychiatric ward by that guy who's always a scumbag in every movie.
Yes, yeah, that guy's...
He's always like a sniveling little piece of shit. He's not the sniveling scumbag
from Independence Day.
No,
but he may as well be.
Isn't he wasn't he the fucking head of the TV network in No Holds Barred?
He was the head of the TV network in Wayne's World.
Oh, okay. Maybe I thought he was in No Holds Barred too.
Same network.
Same universe. So the guys get sent to a psychiatric ward, and they let Winston bring back his bit where he explains everything that actually happens, and it makes him sound batshit insane. Meanwhile, the city is going ham.
So
blown nuts. I
think we're about at the point where the baby gets kidnapped by Dorothy or Auntie M from The Wizard of Oz. But Dana comes home to the baby, and Lewis and Janine are so horny. They say hi to her. She goes to check on the kid, and they just continue to have sex on the couch as soon as she's like in the other room.
Yeah, they're like incredulous teenagers. I love it.
They're like my favorite subreddit r/sneaky sex.
Oh,
that's a thing.
To check that out.
Yeah.
Move over, idiots with guns. I've got a new favorite subreddit.
There's a subreddit, idiot with... Oh, God.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
There's one of my favorites is What Could Go Wrong, and it's just people doing the stupidest things.
On that note, there's one that's called There Was an Attempt.
Oh, I love There Was an Attempt.
And there was one I watched yesterday where it was a GIF where there was an attempt to cut a sausage, and this fucking guy had a sausage in his mouth, and this other guy had a katana.
Oh,
and he
no!
Fucking sliced the top of the dude's nose off. It's like,
oh no!
I also like last bit of Reddit talk. I like "fuck you" in particular because that Reddit is tremendous.
That other one you showed me, Doug, that abrupt chaos.
Chaos.
That one's fucking insane. Like everything's normal, and it's just like the title. Like God showed me this one where it was like, a couple of rocks. It was like on this lakeside house, and a couple of rocks fell over, and then all of a sudden it's literally just like boulders, like
the fucking apocalypse.
It looked insane.
So, so Janos in ghost form, dressed as Auntie M, steals the baby in a phantom carriage. Yeah. After it crawls out on a ledge. Dana hustles to the Met to get her baby back. Everything else, the Titanic shows up. There's
nice
monsters in Central Park.
A Cheech Marin cameo.
Cheech Marin gets 2 lines in this whole movie.
Better late than never.
Like all sorts of shit's happening. Apparently the mayor had a conversation with Filippo LaGuardia, the former mayor of New York, who's been dead for 40 years in his bedroom for 2 days.
He's like, yeah, I had a nice 45-minute conversation with Filippo LaGuardia.
Like everything's going crazy. The Met is covered in goop. No one can break through it. They're like, get me the Ghostbusters. And then the sniveling guy's like, well, I had him committed. And he's like, fuck you, you're fired. Get me the Ghostbusters. So then the Ghostbusters come out, and they're going to work themselves out of a job yet again. I just want to point this out, because once they vanquish evil, there's no more ghost to bust. So then they hustle down there to the Met, and their proton packs aren't doing it. And they're like, okay, we need something to, look, this is all feeding off negative energy. They figured out all the slime has been generated by all the negative energy in the city of New York. We need something positive. And what's the most positive thing we can do? We're going to get the fucking Statue of Liberty. We're going to goop her down like a bukkake flick, and then we're going to play Your Love is Lit. Well, who sings that song?
They filled up the Statue of Liberty with their hot, happy goo.
With their positivity slime, which is what I'm going to refer to it from now on. And
they steer it with like a Super Nintendo Turbo controller.
Dude, that was the
Nintendo
NES
Turbo.
It was the NES Advantage. I always wanted that controller growing up.
No, it sucked. I had one. No, so they played Higher and Higher or whatever, but I was like, this would have been a good time for Give Me Some Lovin'. I felt like the movie could.
Oh, hell yeah!
I want to.
Yeah.
Like right when it starts getting off the bass,
yes.
do.
Yeah. I was like, I need to make a fan cut of this movie, and that's the only thing I change.
Everybody waits for the changes. It's like the last 3 minutes of the movie.
You don't even know
the thing. Yeah, I don't do anything. It's just one song I changed.
But it cost you a lot of money to get the rights.
Oh yeah, I legally changed it. Like,
you bought the masters and you fixed it.
Yeah, I spent $2 million to do that.
So now, so the Statue of Liberty marches to the Met, smashes in the top. The boys get down there. They fight the painting man. There's some cool special effects. Ray gets taken over briefly because earlier he got mesmerized by the painting. They fuck dude up. They slime him. They send him back, and everything explodes just in time for Lewis, who's getting like suited up and sweated on by Janine, and he hits the streets in a Spengler outfit, and then gets Slimer takes him for a ride on a city bus, and it looks like he blew up all the slime around the Met. And the Ghostbusters have saved the day again. And my least favorite part of this movie is the cheesy picture at the end, because it's kind of unnecessary. But you can say that a lot of this movie. But if that's my biggest complaint, then so you can have it. And now they don't have jobs again, presumably. And then, Egon fucks off to the Midwest to fight the Mind Full of Demons, which I want to reiterate, I liked Afterlife a lot more than I expected I would.
Yeah, me too.
So that's Ghostbusters 2. And I'm not, the whole time I'm like, and I am a big fan of the original property. Like, I think Ghostbusters is a lot of fun. I think it's a fun action comedy. And it's like really unique is a dumb thing to say, because something can't be really unique. Something's unique or it's not unique.
Ghostbusters is very unique, but I'm going to just say that my problem with this movie is that it's got the sequel problem, right? Like, I feel like the movie takes forever to really get started. You got to do the whole get the band back together thing, which is tired and annoying. And they kind of just do the same shit they did in the first movie. And it's like, I enjoy the parts where it's funny because we talked for a couple of seconds about the I don't know, what year did that come out? The Lady Ghostbusters movie in 2018?
16,
about
I
right.
think.
2016. And that movie's a problem because, like, the parts where they're all together joking and they just riff for half an hour, it gets, like, really tiresome. But, like, all these guys have, like, really good chemistry, so all of the scenes, and I'm sure most of this stuff was actually written. I don't think that they were improvising these scenes. But all the best parts of this movie are when they're all together and joking around. The parts that I can't stand about this movie are, like, the plot parts. Like, Vigo is terrible, and
Vigo.
the fucking art assistant is really annoying, and like I want like this movie without the ghosts, because I like all the characters, and like I liked Rick Moranis, I like the secretary, but like, man, when they get back into the fucking like Antichrist painting thing, I just check out. Like I just can't invest in it at all. The baby stuff to me is just, it just feels like they didn't know what to do, and they're like, I don't know, like fucking evil painting, sure, like why not? And like at least
they really shot their load on the first movie because they had like an interdimensional god incursion.
In the first movie though, you had like the interdimensional god, which is cool. It's almost like a fucking cosmic horror thing. But you also had like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which is iconic, cool designs. You had those dogs, those like devil dog
the
things.
terror dogs, man.
Yeah, those things are cool. But like, what does this movie have? Nothing.
No,
it doesn't have anything. Yeah. It's got a weird looking painting guy, and I just like, I don't think this movie is bad. I just don't think it's good either. Like, but that's my gripe, and I have to say that I really hate the sequel-ness of this movie. Like, I wish you could do without the whole get the band back together thing. I hate that in sequels. Like, the whole part that's cool about a sequel is you've already established all their cool shit. So you should just right into the cool shit.
Like it's the same problem I have with every Metroid game. Like, why do I have to get the Varia suit again?
Right. Well, I mean, that's just the thing, though. Like, I get from a plot standpoint that they shut off the ghosts, but maybe there's another ghost hole somewhere, and they still are fighting ghosts or something. Like, ghost I don't know. What's the Gogs? What's the thing you like? Hellmouth.
A hellmouth. Yeah.
there's a hellmouth somewhere that's open. Like, I don't know. Like,
well, that's actually what they did in Afterlife, and it actually works really well.
But
like,
Egon
found a hellmouth and had to try and fight it by himself. And
but you don't have to break them up again. And I feel like that like the first, like, I don't know, it feels like an hour, but probably closer to like the first 45 minutes are just kind of farting around trying to figure out what we're going to do the rest of the movie. And then when they land on what they're going to do, it's like, oh, this is it? Like, I don't know. Like, I want the ghostless Ghostbusters movie is what I really want. But anyway, what did you guys like about it? What was stuff that like stuck out to you?
I mean, I don't know that I can like objectively rate this movie.
Yeah.
Because I loved it. I loved it so much as a kid.
Correct.
Like, I loved it more than the original when I was younger, because this movie's, I feel like, geared more for kids.
Yeah, no, that's definitely
like true. It's definitely skews for like a younger audience. But like, I remember everything about this movie and loving it all, and I still love it all. The pink slime, Vigo the Carpathian, Higher and Higher, the Statue of Liberty walking, the fact that the whole city forgot about ghosts for 5 years, like. It's just wild. And like I'm not going to be able to rate this movie on its own just because of me seeing it. I'm pretty sure I rented this movie like 50 times from like Little George's and just watched it over and over and over. And like when my aunt would babysit, I'd make her go get it to watch it because I loved it. I think that, and that's why I like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade so much. I watched that probably 50 times more than either of the other Indiana Jones movies combined when I was a kid.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but it's like about Temple of Doom. And then when I kind of got into cynical adult TJ, I was really surprised at how many people just hated Temple of Doom. I'm like, I love Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom rules. A blast. I mean, I love all three of them, and I refuse to acknowledge Crystal Skull and whatever abomination they're going to come out with in a few months.
Oh, yeah. That's coming out this summer.
Thank you.
But, like everything about this movie I love, and I understand that it's not a perfect movie.
No, I know, yeah.
And it's too long. It's almost 2 hours. Like, it's 10 minutes shy of 2 hours, and that's too long. But yeah, it just hits all the nostalgia buttons for me. Like I was told me, Stacy, we're talking about. We watched it yesterday, and I think she didn't really care for it either.
She didn't vibe with it.
No,
but did she have any affection? Did she have any previous like?
No, I don't think so. But she didn't really I don't think for the original Ghostbusters either. But like I can recognize that like Ghostbusters is a legit classic. It's like one of the best movies.
Yeah, it's good.
It's like one of the best movies of all time. Like it's up there in like probably like the top 50-ish movies ever made. Like this is not even close to that. But it's still a lot of fun, and I still enjoy it a ton. But then when you compare Ghostbusters to like Jaws, like Ghostbusters even close. Jaws is like maybe the best movie ever made.
Yeah.
Like legitimately in the conversation to be the best movie ever put on film.
I mean, yeah, and Ghostbusters is in that like 80s like canon of just like great movies. You know what I mean?
It's got too much nostalgia associated with it. Yeah. Like I love the original Ghostbusters so much. Like I don't know. It's this movie's probably gonna get like a 3-point bump just for rose-colored glasses. Like from what it should be versus what I'm gonna score it. Like, and I know that. And that's okay. I'm okay with that.
That is okay. I think we finally have established that on the show that nostalgia is here. That nostalgia is okay.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. I mean,
like I can sit there and look at a movie and go, is it objectively good? No. Did it make me feel good watching it? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's worth something.
There's nothing wrong with that. All right, 5 knuckle shuffle time, I guess. Unless there's anything else you want to bring up before we get into that. Gogs.
It's gonna be an 8 for me. It's not as good as the original, obviously, but it's still a lot of fun. I love these characters. I love spending more time with these characters. I love Rick Moranis in this movie. There's just so many moments, like Alec already pointed out, there's so many moments that just like sort of stick with you, kind of regardless, like especially like the Statue of Liberty walking down the street. And I'll be honest, I don't know why this stuck with me so hard. But the part where they're in the Statue of Liberty, spraying it down with the goop with their new proton bags that I'm sure they wanted to sell as toys.
Oh, yeah.
There's a scene where just Ray is standing there spraying it down, like smoking a cigar, just like happy as a clam. And there's something about that. I was like, yeah.
It reminds me
now.
I wonder if they took it from this. It's like almost the exact same scene from Blades of Glory, where Craig T. Nelson is like sharpening the skate with a cigar, and he just kind of gives a half look over and like a nod and a smile.
Yeah.
It's like sharpening the blade that might cut his adopted son's head off.
Do y'all remember when the cartoon came out? It was after this, right? It wasn't after the first movie.
No, it was before this.
It was in between.
Okay.
But not the real Ghostbusters with the gorilla. Or no.
That came out before. That was
that's like a Hanna-Barbera thing, right?
Like that came out in like the fucking.
Or maybe that was the Ghostbusters, and maybe the one with.
Yes, the one the cartoon about the movie is the real Ghostbusters.
The real but the one that had Garfield's voice. So I don't know.
His name is Lorenzo Music. Yeah.
The movie's a lot of fun. It's not good. It's fun to say Eagle. I don't know. Janine's a smoke show. Sigourney's a smoke show. It's just a fun, silly movie. It's a good way to spend 2 hours. I was smiling the whole time, so that's worth an 8 to me. Alec,
I'm gonna give it a 7. I enjoyed it a lot, but I can recognize its flaws and see why it's not for everybody. I can understand why taking a movie with more adult themes and then making the sequel more kid-friendly could turn off people to it. But I still enjoyed it. And like I said before, I can't rate this movie like on its own. Like, there's no way this is going to get like an objective rating from me. It's like Pop Star. Like, it's a part of me. And it's a part of, my brain makeup now. Like, it just, I'm gonna love it no matter what. Like Gogs used to feel about Krull.
Yeah, except this is a much better movie than Krull.
Yeah. Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah, TJ.
I hate to say it, I feel bad, but it's like a 5 for me. I've seen this before and I totally forgot about it, and watching this again, I remember why I totally forgot about it. Like, it's just not, to me, like, again, I like Ghostbusters, the original, but like, I don't, like, to me, like, Ghostbusters isn't like, I don't, like, Star Wars or Top Gun or
Not a high value property.
Jaws or fucking Indiana Jones, any of that. Like, I like Ghostbusters, but I never had like the reverence for it. Like that, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. And I do appreciate it for what it is. And I think it's a classic, but like, it's not in my like personal, like one of those movies that I hold very dear to my heart. And this movie it's just a lot of nothing for me. Like, I recognize it's filled with talented people, but to me, it just feels like talented people that had no idea what they, like, they're like, okay, we made this really weird fucking movie that, like, shouldn't have worked. Like, that's one of the reasons Ghostbusters is so good, because it shouldn't work at all, and it works incredibly well. And then they're like, well, do that again, because it made a lot of money. And this is like, well, I don't know how. Like, how do you do that again? And I think, like, I know you guys say Afterlife is good, and I'll take your word for it, but, like, I think that's why you had a lot of problems with, like, the reboot. Like, it's Ghostbusters is a tough movie to make work, and they couldn't even do it right, in my opinion, in the second one. So, like, how is anybody else supposed to do it right? I don't know. Again, I don't think this is, like, a terrible movie. Like, I don't. I don't think this is bad. Like, I just think it's, like, very forgettable. Like, I don't think this is, like, for me personally, I don't find this movie like very memorable. Like, I enjoy some of the bits, and I think that this core of actors like are really good together. Like, their chemistry is off the charts. But like, that's all this movie is coasting on. Like, I think that the actual like meat and potatoes of this movie is like very, very bland. So yeah, it's a 5 for me, dog. Sorry about that. I just, again, I totally agree with you guys about nostalgia, and that is valid. It's just that I don't have that same connection to the work. So yeah, so it's a 5 for me, dog. And Sean gives it probably like a 2. I don't know.
Possibly an 8. He could have gone either way.
We probably didn't watch it. That's probably why I didn't want to do the show. Probably didn't watch it.
If I don't watch it, I still do the show. I just pretend that I watched it. There's a couple little fun facts. The guy who played Vigo wasn't he was from Die Hard or something? Was he Die Hard too?
He was one of the terrorists in Die Hard.
Die Hard, yeah.
So they dubbed all his lines in this with Max von Sydow, but they didn't tell him.
No,
so at the premiere, he got up and stormed out.
No,
when he realized that he wasn't.
Oh, that's funny.
He realized that he wasn't.
You know, that happened in Star Wars. So David Prowse, the guy that played Darth Vader, he did all his lines on set, at least for the first one, and they didn't tell him either. And I mean, like, obviously that was the right move. I mean, the fucking James Earl Jones Darth Vader voice, like, it's one of the most iconic voices in film history. But yeah, they didn't tell David Prowse. Like, I guess on set in 1976 or whenever they made it, they didn't tell him. He just recorded all his lines. He didn't know. I guess that's pretty standard in fucking movies. It's kind of fucked up.
Wow.
Yeah. And
stormed out of the.
Jason Reitman has been nominated for 2 Oscars.
Yeah, good for him.
He directed Juno and Up in the Air.
He directed Juno? Why did I think Diablo Cody directed Juno?
I don't know. I feel like people. I don't know.
Maybe I just thought
she did write it.
Maybe it's just her like style.
And he directed Thank You. He directed Thank You for Smoking.
Oh, I like that movie.
Jason Reitman's directed some bangers.
Yeah, he's good.
Young Adult. That wasn't bad.
What is it?
Young Adult.
Oh, I like that movie too. That's with Charlize Theron and Patton Oswalt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that movie.
He's done some good stuff. Good for him.
Solid. All right. So whose pick is it next week?
I mean, I have a pick.
The one of you two. And then week 4, and then the last week is the
Molies.
Is the Molies. The Molies. Actually, I might not be on next week. I might be flying.
Oh shit.
I have potentially 3 picks depending on how we want to do this.
Well, we just need one.
It's your pick. Yeah, so just pick one.
All right, I'm going to pick.
Days. That'd be cool.
I'm going to pick Strange. Well, let me confirm, but I'm pretty sure that happens on New Year's Eve.
It does.
Then that's my pick. It was gonna be Only the Strong because I like dance fighting, but and if that didn't work out, it was gonna be Black Swan because everyone would hate it. It's gonna be Ray Fiennes' Strange Days.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I did not hate Black Swan when I watched it, but I bet I would hate it now.
I don't remember hating it when I watched it either, but I know that
I remember thinking it was all right. And then TJ started telling me how bad it was, and I was like, oh, maybe I didn't like it.
Damn right. I really want to. It's funny we talk about like 2022 movies, and like I keep seeing that promos for that The Whale with Brendan Fraser, and like I want to see it because apparently his performance is really good, but it's written and directed by Aronofsky, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be bad. I'm not gonna like that movie.
Yeah, he's fucking hack now.
Yeah, and his shit is so fucking overwrought and just awful. But I want to see it because I'm sure Brendan. Apparently, his performance is great. But I don't know. And he, you know what? Real quick, an aside.
Well, I saw a TikTok, and it was saying that the guy who did the makeup for The Whale got nominated for an Oscar, and the guy who did the makeup for The Penguin got nominated for an Oscar, or the costume design or whatever for them. But the person who did all the costume designs for the daughter and Everything Everywhere All at Once didn't get nominated, which is
wild.
That's fucking absurd.
Travesty.
Yeah, that's so you're giving a guys awards for fat suits, but okay, that's cool. Also, I don't know if you've watched any of the interviews with Brendan Fraser on this kind of press junket for The Whale. He seems like the sweetest person. Like he seems like a very down to earth, humble guy. Seems very nice.
He seems very genuine about like being thankful for the opportunity provided to him.
Yeah. Also, speaking of Everything Everywhere All at Once, what's his name? The guy that played Wayman is getting a lot of accolades. He's getting a lot of awards already. And he seems like it couldn't happen to a better guy. Like, I really hope he gets the fucking Academy Award, because that guy...
I saw one of the I forget what show it was, but Sean Astin and Chunk presented him with his award.
Oh, no shit. That's awesome. That's really cool. Sean Astin, and his father is a Maryland native.
Okay.
And the original Gomez?
Gomez, yeah. That's his dad. John Astin. But he's
didn't you say he towed acting at Towson for years?
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Famous Marylander. Anyway, all right, that's the show. Alec, have you ever seen Strange Days?
I think I have. I at least tried to when I was younger. It was on HBO all the time.
Yeah, it's a very 90s fucking cyberpunk movie.
It's dope.
I'm very excited to watch it.
Yeah, I like this movie. I remember, I haven't seen it in years, but I remember liking it.
And I'm pretty sure it's already on the Plex, so.
It's a Catherine Bigelow junk, and she makes bangers.
And it's on Shudder, I believe, if any of our listeners want to watch it. All right, that is it. We will talk to you guys next week. Don't forget to eat your own ass and fuck yourself.
Consensually.
That's my new sign. Yeah, can you fuck yourself non-consensually?
I mean,
if you root for yourself.
Damn. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Later.
Bye-bye.